Hi YouTube, AC Dodd here again, and welcome to part 3 of the 850 head rebuild. This time we're going to be getting into some of the machine work, which I know some of you are interested in. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. Just a quick one I want to put on this video. That's the oil hole that feeds the rockers. Now, what I've done is I've just pushed the drill in there, and you can actually see it's stuck. And it's stuck because there's a lot of detritus and stuff that's built up in the hole, so I'm going to actually have to drill that out. So that is something that you need to check. That's not that common, but in this particular case, for whatever reason, the oil hole in this head is actually almost completely closed. So something to check if you're going to rebuild a cylinder head. And after running the drill down there, you can see how much detritus has come out. That is a good reason why you need to check your oil ways to make sure that you're not leaving that in there on a nice rebuilt cylinder head. Yeah, I've not seen one quite that bad for about 30 years. So that oil hole in the cylinder head was blocked completely. So I had to drill it out down, and I also had to turn around to the side where it's plugged and drill through the side of the casting, remove the plug, and then drill that hole out as well. So the two intersecting holes were there cleared. Obviously checked it with a torch to make sure it was clear. And then obviously I had to make arrangements to replug the hole. So one of the most important things when you're doing old engine parts is to check all the oil ways, all the waterways, and make sure everything's clear. If I'd have not tried to blow that through, because that's the way I checked it, and nothing came, no air came out of the hole, which I obviously knew that there was a blockage. If I hadn't have done that, then potentially that could have gone back on the car with on a brand new engine, and then seized the rocker shaft. So yeah, it's very important that you check everything on old castings when you're rebuilding an engine. So let's move on and see how I replug the hole. So cleaning almost done. I drilled through the oil hole, and what we can see here is, I'll just zoom right in, and you can see what I've actually done just in there is put a 6mm by 1 pitch tap, and I've just threaded it ever so slightly. And what I say ever so slightly is I haven't gone all the way in, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the hole with a little grub screw or set screw, socket set, and then we'll just wind that in, and on final fit, so once I've completed all the machining, I'll blow the hole out, and then that will go back in with some PTFE around it and block that hole. And obviously when you do this modification, what you don't want to do is you don't want to tap too far down, because that will screw all the way in and then potentially block this hole up. So you only want to tap enough to get that just sub flush like that at the end. So that's actually bottomed out on the threads, and obviously when we put it in for the final time, we can then put some PTFE around it and seal that up. This is also a useful modification, especially if you're stripping your engines regularly, because you can pull that out and then obviously clean the oil ways out. So yeah, nice little modification, nice reliable way of actually sealing the hole after you've been in there for cleaning. So yeah, I just used an M6 grub screw to block that hole. Just in case you're wondering, that was a 3/16 drill bit used to clean out those oil ways. But sealing the hole back up with a little grub screw makes a perfect job. And also in the future, if that engine ever comes apart again, that screw can be taken out and the oil way cleaned, which is a beneficial aspect to a future engine rebuild. So without further ado, let's get this over on the machine and start surfacing the top face. So we're back over on the milling machine now, and you can see the machine's running, and we're starting to take a cut. So we're going to resurface the top face of the cylinder head, and then in preparation to get the guides in. So let's get it done. So top's all been machined. As you can see, we've got rid of all the corrosion on the top, so it's nice and flat, good sealing surface, and again on the thermostat end. So yeah, beautiful job. So what we're now going to do is just run a cut around the thermostat ring to get that back to the original depth, obviously makes that nice nice and flat as well, so we can actually get a nice thermostat in there, and then it can come off the machine. The other thing we've done as well, as you've noticed there, just put a chamfer on all the holes. So after you do any machining, always break the edges like so, so you don't get any phrases. And once this comes off the machine, I'll also run a file around the edge here as well, because this is sharp at the moment, just to make it nice to handle. So one thing a lot of companies do when they do cylinder heads is they actually forget to recess the thermostat ring once they've skimmed the cylinder head, because obviously as you skim the top face of the head, that ring recess there where the thermostat sits in gets shallower. And what actually happens is, as you skim that down, the thermostat doesn't sit in properly and it sits up, and it can cause some sealing issues. Obviously when you put the gasket down and put the thermostat housing on. So the best thing to do here is to have that remachined, and also what that does at the same time is get rid of any rust and corrosion. And sometimes the corner of that recess has all got rounded off with corrosion, and the actual surface isn't flat, so you can actually get you know, water passing around the edge. Now in this particular case it wasn't that bad, but there was obviously corrosion in there, so cleaning it out will obviously make that nice and sharp, and you'll see that now after the machining process. So just done the cut for the thermostat recess, just use the boring head. There we go, and you can see the nice recess in there, nice and clean. Thermostat's going to sit down and seal properly, which is excellent. Just machine that down to 50 thou, so yep, very happy with that. Now let's move on to the next stage. So on to valve guides. Now we're not just going to take these out of a packet and put them in, because that would be silly. What we need to do is to check them. So you might be wondering why I've got 3 on this side and 5 on that side. Well, that's the stem seal that we're going to use, which is the modern MPI stem seal. So what I do is I check fit. So I put the seal onto a guide and make sure that the seal goes all the way down. And on these ones it fits, on these ones it doesn't fit so well. So what we'll do is I'll just give you a close-up so you can see what I mean. So if we bring the guide and the seal together, when you push them on, they should go on and clip on like that, and then inside there should be a little bit of play, or a little bit of space I should say, under that lip inside. Okay, so what I mean is under that lip there should be a little gap, and the reason for that is it's so that there is compliance in the seal and there's room for it to move onto the guide. All right, so that one fits okay. So let's now grab one of these that doesn't fit so well. So what I've done is I've pushed the seal on, and as you can see it fits on one side, but there's not quite enough room for that seal to go all the way on, and that causes a problem, whereas the seal can come off, and obviously as you can see it's not sitting perfectly you know, in alignment. So what we need to do now is do a process called guide topping. So we're going to put those in the lathe, and we're going to cut a little bit off the end to reduce the distance from that end to the groove, to make sure that they fit perfectly. So guide topping, yeah, it's not something that needs to be done to every set of guides, but some of the guides on the market, that recess is just a little bit down, too far down on the guide. So when you put the seal on, it doesn't quite fit properly. So what I like to do is to check every guide that I use when I'm installing the cylinder head, even bronze ones. And so even if the seal does fit properly, I like to add a little bit more clearance, just so the top of the seal has got some more compliance on it. Just gives it a bit more movement, so as the guide wears, that seal can still move around, and there's plenty of movement there to be able to you know, maintain good contact with the valve. So that's what guide topping is, and that's why I do it. Process is quite simple. Basically come up, chuck it up in the lathe, and just use the chamfer bit, face the end off, and just reapply the chamfer. I'm not going to show it being done, because I've done other videos with that being done, but the point is it's quite quick to do and makes a nice job. Okay, so that's all the guides done. We'll just take this one, any one in particular, it doesn't matter, put the seal on, and then you can actually see, if I just push that, that will clip on, and if we look underneath that seal lip, you see we've got a nice gap in there, and that's exactly what you want, because that will stay in place then when it's on the engine and not come off in service. Equally, when some wear develops and that valve stem moves, there's room for the seal to move and be compliant with that valve, which is what you want to maintain the seal. You know, not doing that basically inhibits the amount of movement on the seal. So it has, as I say, doing this has the added benefit of giving you some more compliance, which is excellent. So without further ado, let's get these in the head. So in order to get these in, I'm actually going to use a custom tool. So this is a pushing tool set which I made, and I sold a few of these a few years ago, but effectively it enables me to select the appropriate shims to get the right height above the head. So what we're going to do is pop them in. So you can start anywhere you like. The only difference is I've just got to make sure that I've got the appropriately large size guides on number 1 and number 5. So in this particular case, we'll just start here. I'm just going to push them down to the stop. Now the sharp ones amongst you might quickly realise that if my using this tool, if my valve seat heights, valve spring seat heights vary, then the heights of the guides will vary. You are correct, but I can assure you that the finished height of the guides will be closer than the factory, because they vary a lot from the factory. So in terms of what we're talking about here, we're just going to pump that in until it hits the stop. Now some people might say, you know, can't you just hammer them in? Well, what people don't realise, or some people don't realise, is these valve guides are actually made out of iron or cast iron. They're not steel. All right, so don't think these are steel for a second. If you hit those with the wrong hammer, for example, use a steel hammer, you can crack them. So the best way to put these in is with a press, and just push them home to the right height and you won't have any problems. So it's an interesting one that I've had people send me cylinder heads where they've damaged the guides by hammering them in, and they use a steel hammer. Don't do that. It doesn't work, and you run the risk of damaging the guides. I know, because I've had to rectify that where people have tried to do that. So the way to do it is as here, using a hydraulic press, nice and simple. And the install height I'm using here is the factory height of 593 thou above the spring seat to the top of the guide, okay, for a small bore engine. So looking pretty. Okay, so is that it? Do we just put the guides, do we put the valves in now and it all is good? Because trust me, that goes in and that feels beautiful. Virtually no play. Well, that's where you make a mistake, because those guides are not the right size. So that's a reamer that takes it out to 932, which is the proper size. That won't go through because that guide is too small. And the reason why it's too small is when it gets pushed in, the hole that's put through the middle is distorted and it gets squeezed. Okay, so it's actually smaller than it needs to be. So just because the new, and that's a brand new valve, that goes in and it feels nice, that's actually not got the correct running clearance that the factory specify. So what we're going to do now is ream the guides. So another contentious subject, reaming the guides, or indeed honing the guides. So yeah, unfortunately, when you push a valve guide into a recess and the hole that you're going into is smaller than the outside diameter of the guide, the material goes somewhere, and what it does is it crushes the guide and squashes it down, and it will reduce the clearance on the inside of the guide. So if you actually put the valve in there, which is I showed there, it actually felt nice and snug. You don't want nice and snug, you want the appropriate clearance, which is what comes back to when I say before, you've got to measure things to actually get the right clearances. And the reason why we're reaming it is because we're trying to open the size out so it's nice and parallel on the inside, so it actually achieves the right oil clearance which the factory specify. That's why you do it. So you can use a reamer, or you can hone the guides if you've got you know, the services of a fully equipped machine shop. that can actually hone those guides out for you. But reaming or honing works well, but you must do it, and you cannot just fit a guide in a cylinder head and hope for the best when it comes to the clearance, because more often than not that ends up with a nipped up guide. So I use power reaming, so just in a pillar drill. I've got a solid carbide reamer. Obviously the head's set up square, and I've already checked, but it's in line with the bore of those guides. So that'll just go down and ream those out to size. You actually need power reaming if you're actually doing bronze guides, because they're very, very hard going. So you actually need a machine tool to drive that in there, really. But this is not a you know, an arduous process with iron guides. The carbide reamer cuts that nice and easily. So yeah. Actually, all I do is I just hold that by hand, purely because you know, there's very little effort required. Now, what you should really do is not do as I do. You should clamp this down, because if you try and do this and you've got a powerful machine tool, this is a 3/4 horsepower, if it's in low gear, that could actually rip that out of your hand, break your cutter and make a right mess. So I would strongly suggest that you clamp this down. Just showing you the reamer there, that's just gone through, and you can see how much metal's on the end of that, which gives you an idea of roughly how much has been taken out. Always check your work after reaming. So what we've got here is an internal, effectively a 3-point micrometer, and we can see that we're reading just about two microns under 7.14. So the finished true size is 7.143 millimeters, which is 9/32 of an inch. We're just a few microns under that, so that's going to be absolutely perfect. So the reason why that's slightly undersized is because that's a used reamer and it wears, but we're still well within the operating boundaries here. I wouldn't worry about that. If that was down to sort of 7.135, that would still operate perfectly fine. So yeah, I've checked all of them. That's good to go. So just for completeness, just to let you know that when I put those guides in, they were all about 7.11 to 7.12 millimeters before reaming. So that's why you have to ream them out, because they shrink up. They weren't that tight before I put them in. So you do, you know, don't try and actually fit guides without doing the sizing operation afterwards, because you know, it will end in tears. It won't get everybody, but you will definitely have a stuck valve if you don't size them properly. With all that being said, that brings us to the end of this particular part. Watch out for part 4. It will be coming at some point in the future. So I will obviously see you on that episode. As ever, please like, share and subscribe. Hype the video if you get the opportunity, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.